Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats with Chaudhry. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend, Ali Badr, who is actually, I'm never quite sure what Ali's job title is, whether it's Group Sales Director, Business Unit Director, I have no idea, but he works at HPCI Media and is responsible for organizing the upcoming Cleanroom Technology Conference and Manufacturing Chemist Live, which I'm delighted to be saying is my very first live event that I'm going to be attending after 18 months. And he's also responsible for manufacturing chemist and cleanroom technology. So I'm delighted to catch up with Ali. Ali, how are you, my friend?
I am very well, Rizwan. And yourself?
Well, I'm very happy to see you. I'm very, very good. Although we were just discussing years before we went live that, Ali has just moved into a new house and he's gutted it all. So he's sitting there with a laptop on his knee, as you can see. So there's a bit of a shakes there. But if he starts moving his legs around, or starts laughing. Whereas I've got a lovely new office I've just decorated. So hopefully he'll have his own office soon. So I'm very, very well, Ali. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for taking time out before what I know is a very, very busy period just before a live event to talk about the event. I thought before we start talking about next week's events and what people can look forward to, if I could ask you a few questions about the pandemic and how it's impacted marketing within life science, because I think you're actually in quite a unique position, being responsible for both media, websites and publications, and also for live events, which have obviously been impacted by the pandemic. So from your perspective, how has the pandemic impacted HPCI in terms of your customers and the marketing that they've been doing to pharma and life science?
I think it's an interesting point. Obviously, it's been a very different kind of environment for the last 18 or so months. And whereas trade shows were very key to a lot of the organization or companies for generating leads and reaching out to people, I think we've kind of found over the last 18 months, we're having a lot more requests for people to do digital. People are looking at more lead generation type campaigns. And that's something that as an organization, we've been able to evolve quite quickly and develop products that cater to those needs. And they've been really successful over the last 18 months. And a lot of companies have taken that up. Webinars, I think there was quite a lot of appetite for them in the beginning, but that sort of slowed down towards the end of the year. I think there was a bit of
oversaturation, if you
think, and a bit of webinar fatigue. I guess is probably the right way. But lead gen was good, but that's not to take away. I mean, I think across pharma, I think it's gone more digital. However, on Cleanroom, we've probably found everything's just increased. There's more digital. Print probably more popular than it has been over the last couple of years, which is interesting for us because the industry in general, we see prints declining, but we've not found that. And I think it's great to be in that position, that print's still very much in demand. But I think lead generation campaigns have been something that a lot of the advertisers have sort of looked to fill that void of the trade shows and getting those physical leads for the sales team to go after.
Right. I mean, that brings interesting point though, because you talked about trade shows and obviously you are organizers of live events as well. And last year, I know Cleanroom Technology and Manufacturing Chemist, which ironically was going to be your first live event actually.
Correct, it was.
Of Manufacturing Chemist, had to go digital. So how did you find the adapting or moving from a live event to a digital event, and how did you find delegates respond to the digital event?
I think we all initially felt that it was going to be really easy. However, I think putting on a virtual event is probably a lot more complex than a live trade show in some respects. But I think it was a steep learning curve for all of us. And I think we had a really good agenda. We've got a really good team. And I think in terms of the industry as well, they kind of got behind it very quickly as well, which makes things a lot easier. And from a delegate perspective, I think it was really good last year because I think the platform that we used was good, is easy. We had a very decent uptake on the delegate numbers for the virtual events. So I think from a setting up a platform for us for last year, especially for manufacturing chemist, being it's launching in a pandemic year was maybe in hindsight not the best things to do, but we all love a challenge. But I think in that respect, I think the delegates did take to it really well. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of those delegates that came to the virtual event last year have now come back this year for the live event. So we're seeing a lot of people come back. So clearly we're doing something right for people to come back.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because moving forward now, and I've had this discussion with lots of different event organizers and different people, I think hybrid is here to stay, isn't it? I mean, would you agree with that? And in terms of it opens up a door for people who can't come to the live event for whatever reason, with location or cost or whatever. And also, I mean, I don't know what your views are on this, but I do think that by having the digital events, a lot of companies have now said, for a number of reasons, whether it's cost, the carbon footprint, or whether, and this I think applies more to international events than local events, I must say, rather than say a UK only, but that you will see that there will naturally be some people who won't be going to as many live events internationally because of company policy, regulations, saving money, and also time as well, because you're not having to travel, you can do stuff and still access that. So I think it does open up a window for some new audiences that perhaps you couldn't get, but also you'll lose some live people, particularly for international events, who would have come before. Would you agree with that, or do you think that's...
I think that's a fair assessment. And I think it's also interesting that when you look at sort of the different sectors, it obviously, because we work across clean rooms, healthcare, pharma, and cosmetics, it's interesting to see how the different groups behave. And I think pharma seems to be one sector which is probably the most apprehensive about sort of venturing back out. I attended a healthcare event probably 6 weeks ago, and there was 250 people there, and it was literally just as we were coming out of lockdown, and none of them, and they were all on the edge of their seats to get back out there. But the pharma industry still seems very reluctant. The clean room industry, we're having a really strong response that they want to come back out. So I think it will be interesting. And I think big pharma, yes, I think perhaps the big trade shows may find that they become more local because international travel is going to be limited. And I think if we look at US, they've got all their big trade shows because they're big enough to have local trade shows and be big enough. But it'll be interesting to see. But I think hybrid is going to be there because the companies have got to give people the choice how they attend those events. If they're not comfortable, it's just like hybrid working. Companies are having to give everybody options of working from home and the office. So I think it'll be a long while before we return to, if we ever return to how it has been pre-pandemic.
Sure. Well, that actually leads on, and guys, I'm loving how these are all segueing nicely into my next questions, actually. So that leads on to nicely the live event. So what safety precautions have you put in place for people who are attending the event live next week?
So I think one of the things that we've got next year, obviously, it's good that the industry that we're in, everybody's hugely aware of what's happening. And in the example of clean rooms, if the clean room industry or the contamination control industry can't put on a safe event, then there's something not right. But we've got one-way systems in place. We've got vaccine certificates being checked for people who are attending. If they haven't had a vaccine, if they haven't had their 2 doses, we will ask them to do a lateral flow test on the day so that we're making sure everybody's comfortable. We've got hand sanitizing stations dotted around the venue, which have been provided by Ecolab. So they're providing all of those. Camphil are looking at doing a air filtration, air purification for the venue, so that they've got sterilized air, clean, purified air circulating through the venue. So all of those things that we are trying to put as many things in place to make sure that our delegates feel as safe as possible.
And what about face masks?
Face masks are going to be provided. We're, I think, one step away from making them mandatory, but we will encourage people to wear face masks.
Fine, cool, excellent. And obviously next week is a hybrid. So how does it differ for people attending the event live to those attending virtually? I mean, are they all going to get the same experience, or is this slightly different experience for them? I mean, obviously, apart from the fact where you're at your home looking at the
yes.
PC, obviously, they're live face to face, of course.
I think it's from a hybrid perspective. Yes, it's hybrid. We've had a lot of US people registering for the hybrid version. All the exhibitors have got virtual booths set up and they're being manned. So I think in that respect, all the delegates have access to the great quality content that we've got in place across both Cleanroom and Manufacturing Chemist. And in terms of sort of where we are, people that have registered, I think we've still got about probably 80% now who have still said that they're intending to attend in person. And I think that is really encouraging for the industry. And I think given that we're probably one of the first live events to go ahead after a long time, I think it just sort of shows the value of the content, the exhibitors and the event itself, where people are going to be there in person.
Brilliant. Right. Now, so let's talk about the content. I know you've got two events running concurrently, so let's split it out between the two. So if you're looking at Cleanroom Technology Conference, what are some of the highlights and what are some of the issues that are going to be discussed at the conference next week?
So for Cleanroom, obviously, given the current climate, contamination control, the manufacturing of vaccines, all of those things are very, very critical. And both the themes across both events complement each other in the sense that they both look at sort of the contamination control aspects. Cleanroom will look at on day one, we'll look at the standards and regulations governing design and build of cleanrooms, the running of cleanrooms, having effective sterilization programs in place for companies, how they test their filter systems, everything to ensure that they're manufacturing in a compliant way. All the drugs are being manufactured in a safe manner. Facilities are being run to minimize contamination control. And then day two looks at sort of the design and build aspects of how they manufacture, how they construct, build, and kit out all these clean rooms for manufacturing of drugs, electronics, food, and health safety. And again, that sort of with Manufacturing Chemist, that sort of complements that, because obviously that looks at choosing the right CDMO, for example, for vaccine manufacture, perhaps. We've also got, as an example, Professor Catherine Green from Oxford University, who was instrumental in the development of the AstraZeneca vaccine. So she will be speaking on the vaccine development, everything that went into it. So everything sort of centers around taking the drugs to market, scaling up, looking at next generation packaging for novel drugs, also looking at highly potent APIs. So both the events, I think, complement each other. One's about manufacturing the drugs from sourcing the ingredients and the R&D to the actual components to the delivery, and Cleanroom sort of, in a way, supporting that industry as to what goes into those facilities itself. So I think anybody who's running a clean room, operating a clean room, looking at getting a clean room or upgrading the facility, and anybody who's already manufacturing a drug or intending to, there's something there for everybody, and they will find sort of, and it shows in our agenda, because we've got, for the same company, we've got one group of people attending on day one because they work in the R&D or the development side, and got the other people attending on day two because they're more on the operational side. So I think the agenda and people's behavior reflects that actually it's done in the right way, where there's something there for everybody.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to attending next week, actually, and seeing, as I said, going to my first live event. It's going to be fantastic. I've even ordered a new phone, Ali, just for it, so that I can get better quality videos.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, look, I really look forward. Is there anything you'd like to add about the events next week that people should know about that we've missed out?
Only that we've still got a few delegate spaces left. Given that everything that's going on, we are limited in how many people we can host, but we have got a few people that we can still accommodate. So if anybody does want to attend, they can visit the Cleanroom Conference website or the Manufacturing Chemist Live website and book the delegate spaces. Or if they want to get in contact with yourself, or if they want to drop me a message, we'd be more than happy to help them get the delegate passes.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'll put the links above the video anyway. If anyone's got any questions for Ali in terms of the event next week, then feel free to put them in the comments below, or you can message him directly. He's on LinkedIn and he will be tagged on the post. So you can go directly to him if you want to. So Ali, all that's left me to say is good luck with the build up. I know what it's like on build up. It's always stressful getting everything right, particularly in your case, you've got both the virtual event and the live event to do. So you'll be checking all the web links are all working and everything else, and all the working live, as well as making sure all the flooring's done and everything. So good luck with all that. I look forward to seeing you next week at the event. So viewers, there you go. My very first event next week, Cleanroom Technology and Manufacturing Chemist Live. If you can make it and you'd like to know more, go to the links above the video, or as I said, message Ali or leave a comment below the video. I will be posting from the event, so hopefully if you can't make it, you'll be seeing some posts from there from exhibitors and delegates alike to see what it's like. And if you can't go this year, then maybe next year. There's always next year. But and also if you can't make it live, I know Ali said about places, but you can still register for delegates virtually as well, so which you can still get the benefit. So you can register for virtual if you can't make it live as well. So Ali, thank you very much. Inshallah, it will go really well next week. You know, I hope it goes really, really well. I look forward to seeing you next week.
I look forward to seeing you then.
And good luck with the house as well. As I said, he's rebuilding his house. You can't really tell from where he is, but it's
probably for the better. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go, viewers. So thank you very much. As I said, any questions for Ali, leave them below. Check out the links above, and look out for the post next week's from the show. So until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.